Howdy guys, Bookie Laura here. Now I know that I have been missing in action for quite a while. I've been really struggling to find the time to make videos, but I'm back with a wrap up of what I've read in November. So I felt like I didn't get as much reading done in November as I wanted to, but actually I ended the month with having read I think 4 books, which is phenomenal really, because I feel like I've barely read anything, so I'm chuffed to bits. The first book that I read this month was The Last Star by Rick Yancey, which is the final book in the 5th Wave series. Unfortunately, it's a library book, so I don't have a copy of it. Now I know that my feelings about The Last Star differ from a lot of other people's, but I gave it 4 stars. Thought it was a really good, solid ending to the series. Tied everything up nicely, like I hoped it would. I also felt that as the series had continued, the characters had become more realistic. I think they started out being quite YA flat and they became more rounded. I really liked the story arc in general, the way the characters had progressed and who they'd become, but also the way that the story had. That when I first read The 5th Wave, I couldn't imagine where they were really going to take it, so to see it sort of be rounded off and finished was quite nice. At times I found it a bit, a bit YA, a bit juvenile perhaps, but to be honest that doesn't really put me off. Sometimes that's exactly what I need and it becomes quite an easy read for me. I did find that the ending was, towards the end, some of the language that came in was really incredible, but equally that was kind of not really matching with the rest of the story, so it became a bit disjointed. I really disliked the ending. I found it a real big cheese fest. I don't like cheesy endings. I'd rather be left in some suspense, I suppose, or some kind of cliffhanger moment, rather than feeling like every character, I know how they have to live their lives for the next 55 years. The one thing that I will say about the 5th Wave series is that I'm still not 100% convinced that I understand what the plot is. I really don't. I kind of get what happened and I can see it, but I'm not. There were times when they were explaining things and I was thinking, I really don't understand. Why were these guys here and what was their plan? While I was reading The Last Star, I was also, at night times particularly, listening to an audiobook. God, I don't even know what it's called. The Fry Chronicles by Stephen Fry. I wasn't into audiobooks, I'm not into audiobooks, but I decided to use them to sort of listen to at night when I was trying to go to sleep. So it did take me ages to listen to the whole thing, because I generally listen to about 2 minutes a night and then would fall asleep. But to be honest, with that in mind, I really enjoyed the story. I mean, I'm a big Stephen Fry fan anyway. I love him. I think that he is a national treasure and I could listen to him talk all day. In the end, I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was interesting enough, but A, I just wasn't gripped by it. There was no sort of feeling like I needed to know what was going to happen. And B, I really just don't think that audiobooks are for me. So it just wasn't my thing. But 3 stars, it was cool. After that, I read a book called Nowhere to Go by Casey Watson, which is a book that my mum had lent to me or given to me. One of those sort of true life tragedy things. I used to read a lot of them, but now they cut a bit close to home, so I haven't read one for a while. But I decided to give it a go since my mum recommended it to me, and in the end I gave it 4 stars. It was a nice short read. It was exactly what I needed at that point in time. It was an uplifting story that gave me hope in a way that, I can't put into words. So yeah, enjoyed that. And at that point, I went completely off TBR because I got a pre-release copy of a book called Kill Someone by Luke Smitherd, which I've been given a copy of in return for an honest review. Luke Smitherd is probably in my top 3 favourite authors, and so there was almost no doubt in my mind that I was going to enjoy the book. The synopsis of it sounded great. The idea was that this guy just gets told that he's got to kill someone before a certain amount of time runs out, or this and this is going to happen. He's kind of forced into it. And it's kind of that Shakespearean tragedy thing where this isn't going to end well, but you're hooked along for the ride and just waiting for the disaster to happen. And yeah, the synopsis for it is just great, and that hooked me in. I love a good plot. As ever, the character development is really strong with him. It's really interesting to see how it changes the personality, it was interesting to see the character change throughout the book. There were 1 or 2 points in the book where I literally began to feel sick with the tension, which has never happened to me before. I was reading and I could feel my stomach just going, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And that was quite a bizarre feeling for me. and obviously a massive credit. I felt the only downside was I felt that the ending section of the book wasn't as strong as the rest of it. It felt a bit predictable, and I just didn't feel that same drive to see what would happen that I had felt through the rest of the book, so it fell a bit flat at the end. But overall, I gave it 4 stars, and I recommend it, as I recommend all of his books. I did start reading another book towards the end of the month, but I'm going to include that in my TBR for December. So overall, an okay month actually, in one that I expected to be a bit of a disaster. I'm not as into reading as I have been for most of the rest of the year. I read, but I work really hard, really long hours, I'm tired, and I'm just struggling to stay motivated. I struggle to read when I come in and I'm tired. I just want to sit down and watch Gilmore Girls, to be honest. And at the moment, who can blame me? Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.